So I wanted to talk about wins and promises, and kind of funny enough, trying, it's not the political thing where politicians make promises and it's as good as a win. Um, in other words, their promises are empty, and so maybe that's just a big generalization, but there are those who really fulfill the promises they make, and so let's give credit to those. But I wanted to talk about wins. And remember, it came from when I was sitting and I had a meeting and I could see outside the window and I could see people actually doing windsurfing on his windsurfer, surfing thing, going straight into the ocean, like really heading away from where we were sitting, um, where I was sitting. And then I thought, oh, he's stuffed. He's never going to come back because it looked like he doesn't know how to turn around. And funny enough, as I watched him, he came back in the same line as he went in. Now, I asked myself, did the wind change? Probably not. It's a professional surfer. And and then one of the things that I realized that, especially in Cape Town more than any other place in South Africa, maybe Port Elizabeth, the thing about winds is that you can never determine which way it will blow. So, but I want you to think of four things that you can do. And I actually engaged with a shop that sells these things, these windsurfing things. And he says that it's designed in a way that there are basically four things you can do. So it doesn't matter what the wind is doing, how strong the wind is, in what direction it's blowing. And I'd like for us to think of life. I'd like for us to think of being in business or what we do, even being employed. He says the thing about those sails is that you can adjust four things. The first thing that you can adjust is the size of the sail. And the best way I'd like for you to picture it and just to visualize it is to put one of your hands in front of you. Let's say your right hand, so that you see the edge of your hand. In other words, your thumb is facing you, and the flat side of your hand, the inside of your hand, faces to the left, and the outside of your hand faces to the right. So you're looking kind of like on the thin side of your hand. So just keep it there. So this guy tells me that there are four things that you can do. The first thing you can do with your sail, whatever the wind is doing, is you can adjust the size of your sail. You can either make it bigger or you can make it smaller. And so, one of the things that I've discovered more so this year, because I went on a journey of taking away all the things that feels and sounds like it's something that I need to do, but it's really just peripheral stuff, and come back to the core of what I'm called to do, which is coaching leaders and businesses, right? So in my case, I made the size of my sail smaller. Now, in some cases, you need to make it bigger, but you can adjust the size of your sail. The other thing that you can, so you can either imagine make your hand bigger or make your hand smaller, whichever way, but just visualize it in that way. The other thing that you can do is you can change the angle of your sail. Um, Now, what I'd like for you to do is to turn your hand still upright, but turn it from left to right. In other words, your thumb is not in the middle of your vision now; it's slightly to your right. So it means you turn the the angle of your sail. So that's another thing that you can do. The third thing that these guys tell me that you can do, and I'll put more I'll make more sense as I apply it into your life and your business. The third thing you can do is you can adjust the tension of your sail. So instead of keeping it tight all the time, there are times when you can just let the sail give a little bit. And so that's where you see the sail is slightly curved, more curved than otherwise. So you can actually adjust the tension of your sail. So sometimes in life and in business, when the wind comes from the opposite side, or when you're experiencing some kind of a difficult, the point is not to go at full strength, at full tension, is to just let it go a little bit. And in some senses, I'm slowing down in order to pick up speed again. So just that you don't break, sometimes break psychologically or something, but you just let the tension go a little bit. That's also legitimate. And then the guy says the fourth thing that you can do is you can adjust the tilt of your sail, right? So now your sail is not straight up. You can actually tilt it so that it slightly leans to the other side. So imagine that you can do all of these. You can do one of these at any given time, but you can do all of this also at the same time. All it says to me is that you have options, so that when the wind comes your way, and comes up from the opposite side. In others, I think they call it a headwind. You have options. You don't have to continue in life and in business in the same way you've always done it. So, learning from this illustration, you actually have in sailing, you have as little as four options that you can take. So the big principle in business and in life is life also gives you the options to be able to navigate the headwind by either getting going, um, by strengthening, by tilting, by creating a different angle, by just letting the tension go a little bit, right? I want to give you four tips just leading out of that. And then I want to give you an encouragement towards the end. And the first tip is, and if you have a piece of paper, please note this down. The first idea is that when your life and your business is unpredictable, it's like the market. It's either up or it's down, but it's never stable. Like the rand dollar rate is never the same. It's either up or it's down. The one is more than the other. And in the dollar rand, the dollar's always worth more than the rand. So it's up and down. So you can't plan with certainty because of that. So whenever there's unpredictability in your life, there are two things that you can do. Go back to your vision, go back to that future picture that you've been given, and if you're a spiritual person, that God has given you. That gives you sight further down the road, and you say to yourself, I'm still on my way there. Doesn't look like it, but I'm still on my way. And another thing that helps you there is go back to your values. What do you stand for? What's important to you? And in times of unpredictability, two things: go back to your vision or create a clear vision, and go back to your values. Let me talk a little bit about uncertainty. When there's uncertainty, you don't know if you must go forward or you must go back, or left or right. So, how do you counteract uncertainty as a headwind? You go for understanding. And one of the best ways to create more understanding is by asking questions. Okay. So, why is this happening? And why is that happening? And so, what must I do here? What else do I need to consider? And so, one of the best ways that you can create understanding is keep on asking questions until you have you see that the uncertainty that you're facing, um, you have more understanding in that space. Second last thing, when things are complex, and I've got a picture in front of me. I've got circles, I've got squares, I've got triangles, and all kinds of shapes in one space. And sometimes in life, you don't know if you're dealing with a square, you don't know if you're dealing with a circle or a triangle. So it's just complex. You can't, it's too difficult. Two things that you can do there is gain clarity. And as I said just now, often clarity doesn't, in most cases, clarity doesn't come if you add more things. In most cases, clarity comes if you cut all the peripheral extra things from your space and you go back to that core thing that you know with absolute certainty you can do. So, clarity means take all the nonsense away and go back to that. What happens normally if people have difficult times, they start adding things. Like in business, let's say I coach. Now I go through a difficult time. Now I start selling cars. And when that doesn't work, then I start selling groceries. And then I go and I do this and I do that. What you're doing is you actually making your life more complex and complicated. What you should be doing in most cases is cut away all the stuff and go back to what the core thing is that you are called to do. Complexity also sometimes calls for collaboration, right? I can coach, but I can't drive, right? But what do? I collaborate with somebody that can drive. I can coach, but I can't network. And so what do? I stick with coaching, but I network with somebody, I collaborate with somebody that's good with networking. So this is dealing with complexity. Two things, create clarity and collaboration. And then lastly, when things are obscure, and the best way to understand obscurity is when you look through a window, a frosted window, you can kind of see things on the other side, but you don't know what it is because it's not clear. You're looking through this frosted window and you don't know if you open that window or if you open that door, what you're going to get on the other side. That's where agility become agile. In other words, what it means is when you open that door and you don't know what to expect, you build in an agile mindset. Whatever's on the other side of that door or on the other side of that window, I'll be able to face it because I'm flexible. And so when it comes to obscurity or when the glass is a slightly opaque or the vision that you have is slightly blurred, become agile. Not too agile that you lose your resilience, but you are able to either go to the left or you can go to the right. In fact, the businesses who build this in at the moment are the ones who are surviving, right? Three good questions to ask. What must you keep doing because of what you just heard? What must I stop doing? And what must I start doing? I'll repeat that. What must I keep doing? What must I stop doing? And what must I start doing? So those are very helpful questions. Right, Jacques. That's it. I want to end today with an encouragement, but I'm very keen to hear just thoughts and questions from everybody, apart from the dog.
Sorry, man, I was like going mad in the background. I'm going to invite Claudine
Hi,
on
guys. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
loud and clear.
Hi. Um, okay, thank you for that, Al. It was very insightful and very relevant um, for where I'm finding myself. So, I remember a couple of years ago, I used to encourage others and myself by telling myself to ride the wave. Um, but I think your example has provided some clarity. Um, okay, so the surfing boats, the surfers surfing that you brought in, um, it just added like another lens to it of how I can look at riding the wave. Um, and some of the things that you said was very, it's almost as if we had a conversation before this and you knew you knew what was going on. But I am there where I am facing a lot of wind, which brings a lot of uncertainty. I had a lot of questions. Do I go to the left? Do I go to the right? And I think that a lot of what you said is very useful. So if I can use the questions that you asked, what should I keep doing? Is that I should stay focused on what it is that I have been called to do, especially now that it's becoming a little bit more clear what that should look like. I think what I should stop doing is adding on other stuff. So I think when I become impatient or things don't happen as fast as I hope it would, then I start adding other things. But then it frustrates me more because the other things are not working, so I keep piling stuff, but it's unnecessary stuff. And you use the word there, unperipheral something. You
Or
use the word like
peripheral.
that.
Peripheral, yeah.
Um, and yeah, so what I should start doing is um, not to panic, but to stay the course and to look at the things that I should be doing. And, I think I should start working on really building a clearer picture so that I don't become panic stricken and run and try and do other stuff. I like the other stuff that you said also about when things become complex. You have to stay focused and remain clear in what it is that you need to do, but then also to ask for help where you get stuck and where you fall short in terms of what you are able to do and what you're not able to do, to understand the difference and to know when to ask for help, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, Claudine. And we're happy that this assists you. So, one of the challenges and it's a difficult thing because you're in a panic. The word you struggled with um, was you use one word, but it's when we're in a panic because we've got something out there, it's not working. Somebody's knocking on the door for either their rent or whatever needs to be covered, um, school fees, etc. And so we go into a panic, and that's normal. And if Jacques and I are very honest, it happens in our space as well. Um, and so then we diversify so much that we lose our essence, our calling. And the
Yeah.
challenge, I spoke to somebody, a group of people last week. It's very helpful to ask the question, if I call you Claudine, what would I call you for? Because if I'm coaching and then I sell cars and then I do gardening, but I also
Mm.
fix people's roof. And I was at the network basically where I heard most people, and it was a Christian network, that business network, most people, that's what they were doing. And my challenge was, so now that you've shared with me what all the things you do, if I need to call you, what would I call you for? And I said to them, the truth is, I don't know what I need to call you for. And that's the danger of moving away from your core vision, um, and not having clarity about what you stand for. And it's a very fine line, but it comes out of panic. Thank you, Claudine. Jacques, any
Thank you for that,
comments?
Al.
Yeah. And Jacques, any thoughts from your side?
Um, I just need to salute Claudine for how she actually pays attention to the content as you shared, El. Um, but the thing for me that stands out, just to perhaps build on what Claudine was saying as she was talking, and this is the thing, when we allow panic to overrun us, the one thing that keeps us anchored is trust. You got to trust your core purpose.
Mm.
You can't be looking at, okay, these things are basically working for someone else, so therefore something that you're doing is not working. It's not the right thing to do. And I also know that what sometimes initiates that panic is obviously the need to produce, the need to put food on the table, the need to be successful because others are watching. You've ventured into a place along a path, and people standing along the side, friends and family, maybe society at large, looking at you and judging. And I like how Brené Brown normally says, do not be put off by people who are sitting on the sidelines, who are sitting in spectator seats, who are not in the arena. And I like that because it's the people who are in the arena doing what you're doing, facing headwinds, that and trusting that your core purpose and your core vision is true. See, that's the thing is when you start doubting, you got to ask yourself, is it true? So that you can then use it as an anchor. And I mean, what I like also is what quietens the mind is to know you have options. Things are not working well. It just does not mean because you have opposition, it doesn't mean it's not what you ought to be doing. And even in the face of the headwind, knowing that you can adjust the sails, as you spoke about, and still travel in the direction that you've set for yourself. Because you started off your premises, you cannot control the uncontrollable, and that's the direction of the wind. But you've got to travel from point A to point B. And because you have a headwind does not mean you got to wait for that tailwind, a favorable wind. Any wind is a favorable wind if you know you have options in terms of how you harness the wind with the sails. And I think that to me is the powerful message here this evening, Al.
Yeah. Thank you, Jacques. And you know what? I was flying to Botswana, into Botswana, and from the main airport, we flew on a military plane, and there was a female pilot, and I could see her, and there was this big knob that I could see. It's like a volume knob, and sometimes we fly, and then she click click to the right, we fly for a what, and then she click 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 left to the left, and it's what they call a gyroscope. And when I what's the opposite of boarding a plane?
Disembarking?
Disembarking. She was standing at the door, and because we were just a few, I could stop and pause with. And I said, "What is that?" She says, "That's a gyroscope, because the plane doesn't fly straight towards its destination. So I always have to adjust it. Left, 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 right, 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 etc." And then she said, any spacecraft has an automatic gyroscope, and it is governed and controlled by satellite and all these things. Um, and she said something amazing to me. She said, even spacecrafts, she says 99% of its flight or its journey from Earth to the moon or Earth to Mars or wherever they go, 99% it is off target. And that was amazing. She said, but this gyroscope continues to adjust it. And so it confirms the point, Jacques and Claudine and Rene, that when we face headwinds, instead of waiting for that wind to come from the back, you've got options. A sailor knows he's got at least four options: increase the size of his sail, tilt it a little bit, change the angle, let the tension of the sail go down a little bit, right? And so all of that only means that you've got options. I want to encourage everybody, if I may, Jacques, and then we can end,
Sure.
right? So always remember, guys, God is a God of promises, if I may go spiritual. And God does not give us promises to give us false hope. In other words, he's not a teaser. Look here, like we did with our children, yeah? Right? Or did at school. Look what I've got for you. And the minute you reach out, he pulls it away. That's not God, right? He doesn't give you promises to give you false hope, right? What he why actually he gives us promises so that he can awaken the capacity sorry the capacity in us to continue to dream. So whenever he makes a promise, he's actually stirring the capacity in us to dream and to continue to dream, right? And I want to end over this as an encouragement to all of us. When we talk about headwinds, here's the truth. What you are born for, your purpose, the fulfillment of your dream, the fulfillment of your purpose is or sits on the other side of the winds that you're facing currently in your life. It's very rarely that it sits on this side. That's why you go sailing, because you have a destination. But sailors fight through the wind and they utilize the wind because they know the reason why they're doing it is on the other side of that confusing wind. Just want to encourage you. And what I've seen in Jacques, you've seen it, Claudine, you may have seen it, Faith, in the church, Rene, you as well. Many people lose their purpose because they've lost their capacity to dream. Do not lose your capacity to dream. Keep on dreaming. Keep on dreaming because your promise and the fulfillment and what you're born for is on the other side of the winds that you're facing at the moment. Thank you, Jacques. I will give you the opportunity to round off.
Thank you, Alistair. Oh, that's been amazing. I don't want to add anything to it, but just to say that when you're sailing into a headwind, to everybody else it seems like you're being aimless, but you are zigzagging to get to your destination. You
Mm,
know you're making progress. Do not worry about outside in view of what you're doing. Know that you're zigging and you're zagging to achieve your goal despite the headwind. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. We will obviously publish this, and Alistair know circulated on WhatsApp, but you can join the subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Mufasa Coaching Practice, and we'll upload it there, and it'll let you know when it's available. But thank you, and we trust you'll take this and continue zigging and zagging. Bye for now.